You'd think that a room full of millionaire athletes, championship dreams, and enough protein powder to overdose a rhino would be a Zen palace of discipline, teamwork, and mutual respect. But no. Welcome to the NFL locker room, where emotional meltdowns, power struggles, passive-aggressive playlist wars, and full-blown vendettas are as common as sweaty socks and icy Gatorade. Some locker rooms have become so dysfunctional, they make middle school detention look like a TED Talk on emotional maturity. Let's dive into the most notoriously toxic locker rooms in NFL history, where the real hits didn't happen on the field. Miami Dolphins, 2013. Ah yes, the Dolphins' 2013 season, a true masterclass in how not to human. Offensive lineman Richie Incognito, whose name sounds more like a discount superhero than a team leader, took the concept of hazing to prison yard levels. He reportedly sent teammate Jonathan Martin voicemails laced with racial slurs, death threats, and lines like, "I'm going to swear in your mouth." Honestly, even movie villains are like, "Dude, tone it down." Martin eventually left the team mid-season due to emotional distress, leading to one of the biggest locker room scandals in NFL history. The Dolphins tried to claim this was just locker room culture, as if threatening to kill someone's family is the emotional equivalent of a wedgie. The NFL, unimpressed, suspended Incognito, held a full investigation, and the Dolphins were roasted more thoroughly than a Thanksgiving turkey. The incident sparked a league-wide conversation about mental health, bullying, and the stunning realization that boys will be boys doesn't hold up well in court. New England Patriots, 2022 to 2023. You'd expect the Patriots, with their 6 Super Bowl rings and a coach who looks like he was carved from granite and dry sarcasm, to have their act together. But by the post-Brady years, it seems the most valuable player was not in the locker room, and neither was a single cohesive leadership voice. Receiver Kendrick Bourne, usually known for his hands, became known for his honesty, calling the team's locker room toxic and rough. Translation: too many egos, too little accountability, and possibly someone kept stealing people's protein bars. Veteran players reportedly clashed with rising talent. Game plans changed more often than TikTok trends, and Bill Belichick's facial expression, usually stuck at angry owl, seemed permanently set to existential dread. Winning cures everything, except when you stop winning. Then suddenly the locker room turns into a group chat full of passive-aggressive subtweets and one guy crying in the hot tub. Indianapolis Colts, 2024. Let's talk about the 2024 Colts, aka the NFL's answer to a group project with no leader. The team couldn't decide who their quarterback was. Anthony Richardson, Joe Flacco, that kid from Friday Night Lights. Meanwhile, Richardson literally left one game mid-series saying, "I'm tired," which sure is relatable, but not when you're playing professional football and millions of people are watching. Veterans spoke out, saying the team lacked vision, which is the NFL version of your coworkers saying, "There's no leadership, and I hate coming to work." Pat McAfee, former Colts punter, and now sports commentator, Sonic the Hedgehog impersonator, torched the team's culture as a loser attitude radiating through a building. Honestly, if the players were any more demoralized, they'd be listening to sad Taylor Swift songs in the cold tub. Pittsburgh Steelers, 2025. The Steelers haven't officially blown up yet, but according to sources, the coaching staff feared their young wide receiver George Pickens might be brewing a one-man bad vibes festival. Rumors swirled that his attitude and me-first mentality had already begun eroding locker room morale faster than you can say diva receiver energy. No team has confirmed it, but in the NFL, when someone says, "We have no problem," it usually means they're frantically hiding a flaming dumpster behind the practice facility. Even the fear of toxicity can taint a locker room faster than an undercooked steak at team dinner. Dallas Cowboys, 1979. Let's rewind to the late 70s, when shoulder pads were enormous, mustaches were law, and the Dallas Cowboys were the NFL's resident soap opera. Linebacker Thomas Hollywood Henderson became the walking embodiment of chaos. He drank. He partied. He once snorted cocaine during a game. He also taunted opponents on live television while the Cowboys were getting blown out. It was like if Ric Flair played linebacker. but with less humility. Coach Tom Landry eventually deactivated Henderson mid-season, not for his lack of performance, but for essentially treating the NFL like a Vegas residency. When your nickname is Hollywood, you're supposed to bring the glamour, not the TMZ headlines. New Orleans Saints, 2009 to 2012. Remember when the Saints were America's sweetheart post-Hurricane Katrina? Yeah, about that. A few years later, they got caught in Bountygate, an actual system where defensive players were paid bonuses to injure opponents. Like $10K if you knock out Brett Favre type stuff. Defensive coordinator Greg Williams was essentially running a Mortal Kombat side hustle, with phrases like, "kill the head," and "the body will die," thrown around unironically. Roger Goodell didn't find it cute. Suspensions rained down like Mardi Gras beads, and suddenly, the Saints went from heroes to hitmen. Moral of the story: don't turn your locker room into Fight Club, especially when the first rule of Fight Club is don't get caught by NFL security. The facilities are toxic too. Not all locker room toxicity is emotional. Some of it just smells. The NFL Players Association released a 2024 workplace report card, and let's just say some teams are failing recess. The Washington Commanders reportedly had rats in the showers, the Bengals didn't have working hot water, and one unnamed team had bats in the sauna. Bats in the sauna. Look, if your players need a rabies shot before a playoff game, maybe it's time to update your facilities. Players also rated management and treatment staff. Turns out, if you treat players like garbage, they notice, especially when the trash can is already overflowing with old tape, resentment, and sweaty compression shorts. Homophobia and hazing. Some of the worst toxicity comes not from shouting matches or busted showers, but from intolerance. Former players have opened up about homophobic slurs, degrading hazing rituals, and environments where being different meant being targeted. One player said he was terrified to come out while playing, knowing that even looking too sensitive could get him bullied. He now runs LGBTQ+ youth football camps. Because if you want change, sometimes you have to build the locker room from scratch. NFL locker rooms are finally changing, but not quickly enough. For every inspiring story, there's another where someone suffered in silence while teammates laughed about just messing around. When the locker room is more dangerous than the field. So what have we learned? That some NFL locker rooms could be legally classified as crime scenes. That passive aggression, bad leadership, and moldy hot tubs can derail entire franchises. That rats in the sauna are not part of a wellness plan. And that when things go toxic, even Super Bowl contenders can collapse into piles of drama, distrust, and locker room karaoke fights. The good news: culture can change. Coaches matter. Leaders matter. And someone finally removed the ping pong table in Miami so we can all breathe easier. And that, folks, is your front row seat to the wildest, weirdest, and most WTF locker rooms in NFL history. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the drama, dysfunction, and deodorant-resistant chaos of the NFL, smash that like and subscribe. Drop a comment below. What do you think was the most toxic locker room in NFL history? Or have a personal horror story from a sports team you were on? Thanks for watching. Stay hydrated. Stay sane.